there's one. What's going on, guys? This is G Jensen, and we are going to discuss the 5 lures that you might want to use, not you're going to be using, but you might want to use in the month of June fishing offshore. All right, so real quick, let's talk about what the fish are doing, why they're offshore. Post-spawn, they move out and they just feed all summer long. They move out to that offshore structure, being long points, ledges, drop-offs, humps, anything out in the middle of the lake that's an anomaly that has cover on it or is in or close to the current is what you're looking for. And so what kind of baits are really good for that kind of stuff? Well, think about it. If the current's hitting it, if it's like a ledge or a point with the current hitting it or any kind of a drop-off or a hump or anything like that, silt is not able to settle on it. So you can drag things on those humps or on that offshore structure. You can throw a crankbait like what I'm throwing right now. You can throw, a bunch of different things. And that's kind of what I want to talk about, is what you're going to be throwing on that offshore stuff that doesn't have silt on it, where they're out there and they're feeding on anything and everything that comes by. All right, so the first one is one of my favorites to drag on hard bottom, be it shell beds or clay bottom or anything else like that. And that is a football jig. This has become my favorite over the last couple of years, a Picasso football jig. This one's beat up to heck. I've caught a lot of fish on it already. It's missing a one hook keeper or one hook guard, and it's got too much super glue on it, holding the trailer on there. But you pull up to these points in this hard bottom, and it doesn't have to be deep. I'm throwing up into 8-9 feet of water right now. I'm not talking about fishing 30-40 feet deep, just offshore humps and points. And I will drag and stop and shake a little bit with it on the bottom and drag and stop and try to work it. There's a little bit of grass on the bottom, but I don't think I'm gonna get hung up too much. But my favorite way to fish it is just a slow retrieve. In other words, so slow, never mind, so slow that it stays on the bottom, but you're moving it and you continue to move it. Doink. And what I love about the Picasso is it's got a thin wire hook. And so you notice I didn't have to hammer it home to get that hook set in it. A lot of times those football heads will blow the mouth open and you won't get a hook set. So these have got 3/0 little light wire hooks, and I just tightened down on it and it just slowly, pulled up and got a hold of the fish, and you just get a better hook set with them. With these light wire jigs. And if I was making my own jig, it would be one exactly just like this. Anyway, I want to see if I can catch another one. Dump. I found a school. I found a school of giants. What? Oh, this is a big one, guys. Holy crap. Get up in here. Holy cow. Look at that one, and there's a lot more with it. Holy cow. Man. Yeah, that's not somebody I want to know about this school that I just found. So when I choose a rod to fish this jig, I don't need a heavy power rod. I like a medium heavy, even a medium heavy mod, but I like a medium heavy fast rod. That's what this one is right here. This is a Cast King. It's the spiral rod, spiral wrapped rod, whatever you want to say. And it's just a really, really good, got enough backbone to be able to fight a good fish, but enough flex to be able to set that hook without bending it out. 15, 17 pound test fluorocarbon. This is a Brazex because I'm always bringing it through hard, hard bottom and heavy cover. I think it just got another bite. Yep. Oh no, that wasn't. That was just the bottom. And then a high-speed reel. This is a 7-speed reel. This is the MG12, but I even want one a little bit faster, like an 8-speed. Might switch it over to the Speed Demon or something like that. But just a fun bait to fish. And when I'm on a jig bite, I don't want to pick up anything else. That's just the way I am. I'm like a kid at Christmas. But anyway, next bait. All right, so a lot of times when you're on that offshore structure, you get a school of bait fish that swims by, and the bass push it up to the surface and they school on it. You see a lot of schooling this time of the year, whether it be a blueback herring lake or not. You got to have something ready to throw at them. And early in the morning, this is what I'm going to be throwing on that offshore shallow stuff anyway. And that is a Berkeley cane walker or some type of a walking bait. This is a very large one. I like them from about 5 inches all the way up to this 6-inch one. It is a lot of fun to fish. You throw it out and you walk it back and forth. I'll leave links to videos and stuff like that to help you, learn more about how to fish it. More importantly than just the bait, you've got to have a floating line. This is a copolymer line. It's fluorocarbon coated monofilament, so it floats fairly well, and it's good enough for you can use mono as well or braid, but it's good enough for topwater. I just like a copolymer line just because it's got a little bit less stretch in it. I can get a hook set a little bit faster. 7-foot medium moderate rod, so like a crankbait rod, it's something like that, where they grab it, you don't jerk it out of the mouth when you set the hook too fast. When they come up and blow up on it, you want to be able to, count 2 or 3 seconds before you set the hook. 15-pound test is what I'm throwing. I have some Smackdown braid as my main line. I think this is 20-pound test Smackdown braid, and just makes it to where you can cast a country mile. This is a 7 3-to-1 gear ratio reel, or 7. Still haven't got these memorized. I can't remember what the gear ratio is. I'll leave everything down in the description. But the Asagi I'm Cranky rod is a really, really good walking rod. You just throw it out, pop it on a slack line, and just walk it across the surface. And if they're up there schooling, if they're up there looking to feed up, they're gonna hit it. It's just a whole lot of fun to fish. And it's one of those things that when they're on it all day long, you just don't want to put it down. So anyway, walking bait. All right, so the next one is a finesse bait. I usually would pick a shaky head, but I've done a shaky head so many times in these videos. The next one from that I'm gonna throw is some type of a Neko rig, okay? So throw it on a 7-foot medium power rod, let's go 8 to 10-pound test fluorocarbon leader, 15-pound test braided main line, spinning reel, spinning rod, just a really, really, finessey technique. And what a Neko rig is it is a straight tail worm. This is a zoom trick worm. And then you have these little nail weights. Let me see if I can get this one to come out. Take little nail weights. This is a tungsten nail weight. I bite and flatten the head off of the worm, and then you push that nail weight down into the head, make it disappear. Then you take, I use a drop shot hook, but you can take, they make Neko hooks that are pretty much similar to this, and you hook it with the point up towards the tail, because it's going to be bouncing on the surface just like this. And I think I have an old video about how to fish this, but I'm going to show you real quick. You throw it out on your hard cover or your hard bottom, let it sink all the way down to the bottom. Now I'm fishing 8 feet deep, so it takes a minute. Okay, then you reel to that semi-slack line, you reel down, and you try to keep that on the bottom, but you see how light I'm popping my rod, and you're just popping it on the bottom really, really slow and careful. All right, so the next one is going to be the one I caught that first fish on, the fish in the intro, and that's some type of a crankbait. Now I'm throwing, this is a Strike King Square Bill 8.0, and the reason I was throwing this is because they're down at 10 to 12 feet, and this is a big crankbait, and it gets down that deep. That's the only reason. It's not that it's a square bill or anything else. It was just, it was what I had on me and had already tied on that would be able to get down that deep. Another one, the other ones I like to throw are like the DT10, the DT12, any of the deep diving crankbaits from Rapala or Strike King. Strike King 6XD, I hooked a big one on it this morning and it shook off. Let me see if I've got it laying right here. So like a 6XD or a 5XD, but any kind of a crankbait with a big bill. I'm gonna throw that on not this rod. The only reason I'm throwing it, this is a big heavy bait, so I switched over to some more of a jig rod. But let me grab my cranking rod. What I like to throw most crankbaits on is some type of a 7'4", 7'6", 7'11" deep diving crankbait rod. This is a Speed Demon 7'4" cranking rod. It's got a lot of flex to it. You can cast it a country mile. I've got a good reel that is able to cast a long ways. You know, tie on those deep diving crankbaits, throw them out and crank them down to the bottom and try to beat them off of that bottom. You can play around with your speeds, start and stop until the bass lets you know what's going on. A lot of times I'm just a straight, steady, fast retrieve. It's kind of what I was doing when I caught that fish on this square bill. But when you beef it up to these heavy square bills, you really got to beef up your rod. So this is a 7'6" medium heavy fast rod is what I'm throwing this big crankbait on. So like the really, really big Strike Kings and stuff like that, that's what I'm gonna be doing. So I got some grass, big old wad of it, bring it in. You say you want to fish Gunnersville. Oh goodness. But the line I'm gonna be throwing it on is gonna be a 12-pound test. 10 to 12, but I almost always use 12 on a regular crankbait. Then a 6-speed or a 7-speed reel, and you'll be all set. All right, so last but definitely not least is probably become my favorite bait, or at least my go-to bait most of the year, except for the wintertime. And that is some type of a chatterbait in this trailer. Look at that, trailer's destroyed. It's time to replace it. But this is the Evo by Z-Man. In my opinion, it's just as good as the jackhammer, just a little bit less expensive. Actually, it's got some better qualities than the jackhammer. I like that little keeper right there. Put a little super glue on that thing and it'll make these Yamamoto Zeikos last for a long, long time. I think I've had this one on that crankbait, or on that chatterbait for, I don't know, 2 or 3 days. But chatterbaits, they're not just for grass, okay? And I'm gonna throw this one out. I'm gonna show you how I fish it when I'm fishing hard bottom with no grass at all. And I'm gonna throw it without a trailer just because I wanna show you guys and not worry about catching one. So you make a good long cast out. You let it sink all the way to the bottom. And once your line goes slack, it's sitting on the bottom. And then I take 2 or 3 turns with my handle. I'm gonna turn it, sorry about the kayak crotch shot, but I take 2 or 3 turns with the handle. Okay, and then I let it fall back down to the bottom. And then I turn it just fast enough to where I can feel that blade. That's why a nice, you know, sensitive rod is good, but it's just where I feel that blade vibrating. And then I just slowly reel it back, and I'll stop a little bit when I feel like it's off the bottom too far. I want it to be on the bottom, kicking up dirt on the bottom. I want it to be still vibrating, but close enough to where it kicks up dirt on the bottom. And if there's fish in the area, I'm telling you, I don't know why it works so good, but man, they come and they'll either hammer it down to the bottom and you feel them just thump it hard, or they'll come behind it and they'll grab it and they'll swim at you. And it's important that you set the hook immediately. When that line goes slack, immediately, whoa, as fast as you can get back and set that hook, and you'll catch some absolute giants this way. I caught so many big fish doing that. But I fish it on a medium heavy moderate rod. That's what this is right now. It's another one of those spiral rods from Cast King. A 7-speed reel, 20-pound test, or well, 15, 17, or 20-pound, depending on the kind of cover I'm ripping it through. But really 15 is perfect. And that's it. Just cast it out, let it sink to the bottom. And when you make those first 2 turns, what you're doing is you're letting that line get straight. And once that line gets straight, it's not going to come off the bottom quite as much when you crank it. So, but slowly roll it on the bottom, and they will absolutely destroy it. All right, I'll put a trailer on this thing and catch another one.